And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to a new video. And yes, today we're going to talk about a subject that none of you thought I would talk about. I've dodged this subject for a long time, no pun intended. Actually, it was completely intended. And there's a lot of fervor out there on the internet taking place about the Hornet right now and the days of supply. I think it's approaching 600 days of supply, and no doubt they'll probably get there. I saw you all being really nasty to our friend Demonology on his Instagram post where he was very positive and promoting the hell out of a Dodge Hornet, and I jumped in as well. Now, here's my deal. What I said was, listen, Demonology, blink twice if you need us to rescue you. Do they have your dog held hostage somewhere for you to say these things? But I was joking, because in the end, I think we all love Demonology, and he's carried the torch for muscle car racing enthusiasts and been the ambassador, one of the best ambassadors for Dodge out there. So I'm not here to make fun of him. I think he's being honest. I also think, to a large extent, all of us YouTubers are very enamored and esteemed when Dodge reaches out to us to tell us that they're paying attention to our content and would like our opinion. Now, that is a challenge. Now, I have yet to have been offered a Hornet, and I will make it very clear that I don't need one. I don't need one to say the things I'm going to say about it. And I think I'm going to shock the hell out of you with what I'm going to say right now as I dig into this video and share with you the 5 reasons why I think that thing has been a colossal flop. But it's not what you think it is, because in the end, I'm going to say this outright and just drive this point home, and you may tune out when I say this, but I don't think there is a better, faster, maybe there's a better, but there's a faster, better performing, small, compact utility vehicle made by any manufacturer anywhere. I have not been able to find one that could even begin to compete on performance, on horsepower with the Hornet. They can't. Nothing out there. And I'll show you in a second some of the cars I looked into. And I would only ask if you know of one in the price range, especially after discounts right now, where you can get an all-wheel drive car that'll do, I don't know, 0 to 60 in like 5.7 seconds, has a power shot feature, has a really, really nice interior, whether you believe it or not. I mean, if you've been driving Dodge Chargers and Challengers like I have for quite a few years, you know that almost any interior is going to be more impressive than what we've been used to. So that's probably shocking you all. Well, then why in the hell aren't they selling? I'm going to share with you why in a second, but first, let's go to my screen and I'll share with you just some interesting differences out there so you can get some perspective in comparison to the Alfa Romeo Tonale as well. All right, so let's talk about performance, and I think we all have paid attention. You've got the RT here. It's a hybrid. It's a plug-in hybrid, and you've got 5.6 seconds, 0 to 60. It's the quickest compact utility vehicle. It actually is, at least what I've been able to find out there, especially in this price range. There's nothing that will be quicker than that. Well, to have some performance in a little tiny CUV, I mean, I don't know. That seems cool, but why in the hell is it not selling? Why do we all hate it? Why do I hate it? Because I hate it. But I'm going to tell you even more. You got 288 horsepower and 383 foot-pounds of torque in this little RT. And yes, it's hideous. It's a little tiny SUV, CUV they call it, looking thing, but it outperforms almost anything out there in its class and for its price. And frankly, when it comes to interior, the interior looks a lot better. Now, here's what's really funny. It's got 140 mile an hour top speed, which is the fastest in its segment, but also, I have to say this, will reach a higher top speed than the electric Daytona Charger. That's hilarious. It will be faster at a top speed than a EV Charger that's coming out, Scat Pack, with the tune on it. That's hilarious. So in the end, it's got all the kind of European car features on the interiors, and you can get the nice wheels on it and all that fun stuff. But there is a billion of them for sale. But let's go look at the pricing on these things right now. And the pricing right now, I just picked this dealership because I've been there many times, and they're pretty aggressive on their pricing. But you're looking at, if you want a GT, you're looking at getting down there in the $30,000 range. And I'll tell you right now, you can make them any offer you want. They're probably going to take it. They have so many of these, I think there's 27 or 30 of these things on their lot right now. So you want to get one of these things for a ridiculous price, a screaming deal, a couple $100s a month on a lease or something. Go in there and wrestle with them, and most certainly you can get a deal. But why would you do that? We hate this thing. None of us want to buy this thing. But the prices are pretty amazing when you get down to the RT with the Blacktop series, Blacktop Edition, Blacktop Plus. You start getting more in those higher mid-40s range. And now it starts to get a little stupid to buy something like this. But the only thing stupider would be to buy the almost exact same car right here for $52,000, $52,000, $55,000, $53,000. So around $52,000. So definitely more money for an Alfa Romeo Tonale. Well, here's the fun part about these two cars. They're the exact same car with some slight tweaks to them. And yes, I read some articles, and some of the reviewers have said, well, the Tonale drives a little bit better. It seems a little bit more solid. It handles a little bit better. In the end, I would say that the differences are pretty negligible from what I was able to read, yet the prices are significantly higher on the Alfa Romeo Tonale. But now let's go and look at these guys here. Let's look at what the differences are. So here's the Monroney sticker for the Tonale, the one that would match the RT, because they don't have one. I don't believe Alfa Romeo makes anything to compete with the GT, the lower trim version, but they have this, which definitely competes with the RT, and the total price is $54,000. But here's what's interesting, what they did here. The warranty on these is 4 years, 50,000 miles. Powertrain's 4-year, 50,000 miles. And then the battery and hybrid system are 8 years or 100,000 miles. But what about the exact same car in the Hornet? Well, in the Hornet, you've got a warranty of, and you like how they changed the order here? Let's go down to the bottom. It's 3 years instead of 4 years, 36,000 miles, basic limited warranty. 8 years, again, for the hybrid system and the battery, and 5 years, or 60,000, for the powertrain. So they definitely cut the warranty down on the Dodge, but when you think about it, like, I get it. Like, they got to cut costs somewhere to get the prices down. So I'm thinking by cutting down the warranty on a car that's likely not going to be the most reliable thing in the world, they're able to sell it for less money and compete with Alfa Romeo's exact same car and sell pretty much the same car for much less money. There is a great article that I read here, I'll put in the description, that explains the differences. And by the time you get all the way through here, here's what's really interesting. The Alfa Romeo is less horsepower, just by a couple horsepower, and less torque by just a little bit less torque, but it's still less torque, less horsepower, yet way more money than the Dodge Hornet. So if you want to buy this same thing in an Alfa Romeo, you're going to pay more money, and you're going to get slightly less performance. Not that much less performance, but it certainly is different and lower. So you get less performance out of a more expensive car. So Dodge, I think, did a good job there with this thing. And if you look at some of the competitors, you've got Mazda with this thing, the CX-5. You've got, which is just a couple hundred horsepower, even in their top trim. Then you've got the Nissan Rogue, and this is a great article about the difference between the Rogue and the Hornet. In the end, while the Rogue is likely to be a lot more reliable, I imagine, who knows, I can tell you that the performance is night and day between the two of these things. This Hornet will run circles around this Rogue. So I think Dodge had the right idea. Stellantis had the right idea, but the wrong execution and the wrong mofo in the end, because they didn't market it properly. But let's go, we'll talk about those in a second. But the performance is significantly different. Then we go over to the Equinox. So if we look at I think this is a Chevy Equinox and a 1.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder, and here's the 175 horsepower versus what, 268 or something like that, and way different. Then you're looking at, what is this, the Ford Escape, and they all look ugly. I mean, they're all horrible. I mean, I wouldn't want to be driving one of these for if I'm trying to go to Cars and Coffee for sure, and the Hornet certainly wouldn't want to do that. But if I'm offered the two and I like to have a little bit more power, then I'm thinking out of all these options, it keeps taking me back to this thing, despite the fact that every part of my being wants to hate this thing, and I don't know there's any way I can get myself around it. But I get it. Demonology could, because he got behind the wheel and experienced the same thing. That, well, for what the hell it is, it's pretty damn cool. I mean, for what it is, it's actually pretty fast. It's pretty quick. It does the job. But it's an Alfa Romeo. So why wouldn't I buy an Alfa Romeo? Well, I think we discovered that. Well, then why in the hell are these things not selling? Why is it that when Tim got up and said, quote, we've got 14,000 pre-orders on these things?
Well, I guess it depends on your definition of sold out. Because since 8 a.m. this morning, we received 14,000 orders.
And then they only sold, 8 or 9,000 of them the whole next year when they actually came out. That means that if every one of those pre-orders were legitimate, that there's still 6,000, 7,000 people that decided, I don't want this thing. And now it's literally being marked as the worst selling car I don't know if all time, but it certainly ranks up there right now with, between 500 and 600 days of supply, which is a huge issue. Which takes us to my 5 reasons why it's failing. Well, let's start with number 1. And I wrote these things down so I don't screw them up here. But they tried to sell us a knockoff Alfa Romeo. It took 2 seconds for the customers to realize this was not a Dodge and tune out. They could have been right up front and said it's a collaboration with Alfa Romeo and Dodge to deliver the best of both brands at an affordable price in the U.S. But they were afraid to bleed off business from Alfa Romeo. I believe they were told, when you roll this thing out, you make sure you keep as much separation as possible, because Alfa Romeo can't get their rear end gear in the United States. And if he gets up and says, you can buy this thing, this Alfa Romeo Tonale, for $10,000 plus less, then why the hell would anybody buy a Tonale? And suddenly they have a whole new problem over there at Alfa Romeo, which, by the way, I vaguely remember finding an article that was talking about how the Alfa Romeo folks were really unhappy about the Dodge coming out because it significantly devalued the Alfa Romeo because it's such a better deal for same car with slightly better performance, which I can completely understand why they'd be upset about that. So I think they should have been straight up about this is going to be a cheaper Alfa and maybe even not launch the Tonale in the US. They should have given Dodge every chance to have a leg up with this thing. The next reason, they overhyped it and sold it to the wrong audience. They sold it at Speed Week to us. You could have showed up with this thing, anything short of you showing up with a V8 in this thing, none of us were going to go, yay, we're so happy about it. So at Speed Week, when they're talking about all the performance SRT products, and then they come out in day 2 and they roll out this thing with all this great marketing and advertising and awesome videos, and the Hornet's going to sting you, and bees can only sting once, and Hornets can sting twice, and blah, blah, blah. All this stuff that got us so mad that they were trying to feed us a spoonful of dog crap covered in sugar. We didn't want it. There's nothing about it. There's nothing they could have said. You could see in the comments while that video is going on of the entire muscle car universe who was tuned in to Speed Week, myself included, were commenting, just screaming at the top of their lungs, this is BS. I mean, just incinerating Dodge. They did not have a chance because they pitched it to the wrong audience. Tim even got up and said, we're going to tap into an audience, a different group of consumers that are waiting and wanting this kind of thing. But then he was selling it to us. So what happened is they got incinerated. They lied to us about it being an Alfa Romeo. We had to find out ourselves. They insinuated, oh, it's got Italian engineering, but then it's an Alfa Romeo. And then they came out and said it's a gateway to muscle, and it's going to be super fast and super fun. And his little new little buddy right here is going to be the fastest, coolest little SUV. All that being relatively true, we didn't care. It didn't matter. Short of a Durango with a, 392 in it or a 5.7, we want nothing to do with it. Any SUV. So that was a huge, I think, huge misstep to roll that out at Speed Week to the wrong audience. It goes back to the old adage, know your audience. And next, tying to what I just said, is they launched it the same time that they're telling us you're never going to see the Hemi again, you're never going to see the L cars again, and we're giving you this EV Banshee Concept. Very underplayed. Concept. Never said it was coming out in any specific year. Go watch it closely, but made us think that thing was coming out and then rolled it out with a fake exhaust. Everything Tim said became a forgotten memory almost instantaneously the second they rolled out this fake exhaust. And we all just went, oh God. It was like face palms everywhere in the comments. Like, are you serious? You just got through telling us that you're giving us a little CUV thing with a electric motor, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. A little grocery getter, a little Costco trip maker. Like, you just got through telling us that. Like, at least follow up with something great. Okay, here's something super fast it's a concept. We're probably not going to sell for a very long time. And when we do, it's going to have a fake exhaust. What do you guys think about that? And we're just like, you got to be kidding me. At that point, you're strike one. You're hitting strike three. Strike one was, we're never giving you in the Hellcats or the Scat Packs or the L cars ever again. Okay, that sucks. And by the way, get yours. Dealer's going to mark you up to the moon. So have fun with the horsepower locator. And then strike two, here's this little cheap, goofy little CUV thing that is going to be for people who make their own trail mix. Okay, for them, and make it a little bit faster, which is cool, but that's not for us. We don't want that. So that's strike two. And then don't tell us it's an Alfa Romeo Tonale. And then strike three is you come out with the Banshee and show us the fake exhaust and mumble that it's a concept. So it's not even really happening. We don't know when it's happening, if it's happening. And even then, it's fully EV. So why the hell do we want it? And then they come out with the actual Daytona EVs, and they're 5,800 pounds and can get beat by a Hyundai Ioniq N. It's kind of a kick in the head. Next, they pitched it as a sub $30,000 car. Tim said, under $30,000, you can get all this. And I thought, well, there's people that are going to buy that because, man, finding cheap cars that have a little bit of performance, man, that's hard to do. And if given this or a RAV4 Toyota, I'm probably maybe leaning towards the Dodge thing, even though it's an Alfa Romeo. If it's got better performance and it doesn't look any goofier than the other one and it keeps me in the Dodge family, okay, cool. And then by the time they start getting delivered, the prices are ridiculous. The prices are approaching $45,000, $50,000 with no incentives, no rebates, no nothing. And they're thinking people are going to line up to buy them. So they launched at a price that nobody could touch those $30,000 prices. You couldn't find them anywhere. Dealers were not giving those deals. Now, after a few months, they were starting to realize they're going to be screwed and started coming down, but they still were way overpriced for what you were getting. And he did not hit that $30,000 and under price. And if they would have just shipped everything that they could under 30 grand, they might have had a chance. But when I went on those lots to look at these things, they were well over $40,000 by the time we were said and done. Any options whatsoever to make the things even slightly worth owning was going to be well over $40,000, and in some cases approaching $50,000. And that's ridiculous. And next, they did what they're doing again right now. They slow rolled the versions that would have given them a chance. Had they come out, I mean, I was even told when I put my order in thinking, what the hell, that maybe I'll get my daughter that. And I can always back out. They didn't even want any money to put the order down. So put the order down, and I wanted the RT, the faster version, the hybrid version, great on gas mileage, faster, a lot of great things about that. I do think hybrid's a great technology. And they said, no, all you can get is the GT, and you can get a decent option GT, but you can't get the RT. And certainly can't even think about getting the GLH. So you're going to have to wait for that. And they told everybody and anybody who was actually thinking, okay, I might be into that. I might be down with that little goofy thing. When we showed up saying, okay, I'll give you a shot, they said, well, you can't have it. You got to order this crappy one. That's the only one we've got, which built up tons and tons of inventory of everybody saying, well, if I'm going to buy one, I'm going to buy the RT. Well, I can't get the RT. So had they launched with the RT and said you have to wait for the GT, well, they maybe, and priced them right, they probably could have sold a lot more of those RTs, and then people would have come in thinking the GTs are the screamingest deals in the world when they finally showed up. They did it backwards, and they should have got the best performing ones, the best looking ones on the road the soonest to get people going in to look at them, and then get sold down to the cheaper ones when they find out that they don't want to spend the $50,000 on, at the time, on the RT. They just did it backwards, just like they're doing with the EVs right now, when they should have rolled out the twin turbo i6 now and then came out with the EV stuff later and give us the coolest thing up front, and then go ahead and ease us into the crappy thing that maybe there's a segment for out there that people will like. But in this case, they went backwards, and then they told us, Tim told us that this GLH thing would be available, and a lot of us go back to, I think it was the 90s when the original GLH was out there, and it was just a cool little car, and people talked about it in very positive ways. So, okay, can we get that? I don't know about you, but I've not heard a damn thing about that thing yet. It's supposed to be through direct connection, but I haven't heard about those things yet. I went Googling right now, searching, like, what happened to it? Where is it? Can I get one? I can't find anything anywhere. If you know anything about it, let me know. Maybe we should hire some private investigators to go hunting, because that thing is missing in action. And it was, when you read the articles, it was touted as a concept. So if that was the case, then we may never see the GLH. So we're stuck with these two. So they teased us with things that maybe people would want, but then didn't let us buy those things. And then now that they can, they've already done enough damage to the brand, and they ticked us all off by selling to the wrong audience. And I think in the end, that caused a problem. So now they're going out to influencers, and they're trying to push these cars onto people. They're offering massive rebates and incredible discounts. So for that reason, I'm willing to say, for the price now, you're getting down to that $30,000 range and probably less if you just play hardball with them. You can get a hell of a, if you want one of these ugly little SUV things or CUV things, I don't know that there's one out there that would be cooler than this thing. Not bad crap. That's what's really funny. They took something that actually should have had a chance and completely blew it. Maybe when the prices get down around $20,000, you'll see these things everywhere on the road, just like cheap Teslas, which you can get now all over the place. So with that, everybody, hope this all made sense. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.